Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my podcast where you gain insight on my perspective. My name is Hayden, and this is episode 13 of a series called 24 Lessons I've Learned in My 24 Years of Life. This week's episode is called Identify the Source. Have you ever been given advice that somebody thought would benefit you? It didn't benefit you in the way that they intended it to. Oftentimes it does turn out exactly how it needs to be, whether we recognize it or not, but we need to pay attention to the lesson that happened within whether it worked out or not. I used to take advice from people who were not where I wanted to be, and it made me spiral because I felt like I was getting nowhere. I felt like I was just hearing the same things over and over and over again, and usually when things get repetitive like that, you need to make a change. You need to make a different decision. Most of the time it doesn't rely on people's opinions. It relies on what you know to be true to yourself. Because if you're constantly listening to other people in your life, you're not going to get to where you want to be or to even where you need to be. However, if you do choose to take advice from people and listen to their opinion and perspective, take it with a grain of salt, because not everybody is going to know what's right for you. You know what's right for you, and you're learning what's right for you. You do that through trial and error. People can only tell you what they know based off the perspectives that, they've either seen people accomplish the same thing that you want to do, or maybe even they've accomplished what you want to do. And that's a good sound person to take advice from, because they started somewhere. Maybe you're in a similar starting point, or maybe you're far away from that starting point. Either way, they can give you advice on how to get there, versus you ask somebody in a completely different, unrelated career or unrelated activity, or somebody who is on a completely different topic, and you're like, hey, what do you think about this? How do I go about doing this? And they're like, I think, I don't know, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. And your intuition is very quick to tell you whether or not somebody's advice is going to work or not. You got to pay attention to that feeling. Also, be able to determine whether the feeling that you're feeling is what they're telling me doesn't really ring true, or what they're telling me scares me because I feel that I need to take the risk to try it. Obviously, before you take a risk, weigh out your life's jeopardy, right? Is your life going to be in jeopardy if you take this risk? Is your family going to be okay if you take this risk? If you take this person's advice, are you putting yourself in harm? Are you putting others in danger? Weigh out the options like that. If all is in the clear and you can take that risk, take it. What do you have to lose? Identify the source. Don't take advice from people who aren't where you want to be. Anytime I take advice from people who weren't where I want to be, I felt like I was getting nowhere, until I started making my own decisions, and I stopped waiting for those. I stopped waiting for the opinions and advice from other people to come. I just started taking action. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take action on the next step to achieving this passion, or I'm going to take the next step to achieving this goal and use a stepping stone to get over here, and maybe I'm going to set something up for here. And I start planting seeds for myself, and along the way I'm learning from a lot of people. It might not be the people that I originally intended to learn from, who I thought would have the answers for me, but that's the beauty in life. You learn so much from everyone around you. You just got to be open to it. And even if somebody does not give you sound advice, there's a lesson in that, which is really cool, because you're like, damn, they gave me some crappy advice. I'm pissed about it. I'm upset. Okay, but you learned something. Don't take advice from those who aren't where you want to be. I wouldn't be standing here before you if I hadn't taken poor advice from somebody before, because we all go through that experience where we're like, what should I do about this situation? And somebody's like, I think you should do this. And because you're not taking that with a grain of salt and you've applied it wholeheartedly, and you did what they said even though it didn't feel right, of course you're going to be in a position where that didn't work out, and now you're upset that it didn't work out. Make sure that the source that you're getting your information from is something you can trust. And if part of it rings true to you, cool. Take that part and maybe take another part from something else. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. That's a very popular saying. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread them out. Be able to take knowledge from multiple different people, because everybody is equipped with different levels and different expertise on so many different things. You want to reach out to this company, you don't have to physically go to that company and reach out to them. You can send them an email, you can send them a DM, you can contact them on their website, which is really cool. We can do so much, and yet a lot of us are like, but what should I do? I don't know if I should do that. I don't know. If it comes down to applying for a job, sending out an email, setting up a consultation, doing something that scares you slightly, and the risk isn't, I'm gonna lose all this money, I'm gonna lose my family, I'm gonna not be able to support myself living. If it doesn't include anything that is a red flag towards your life, do it. What's the harm? What's the risk? We got to be willing to take those, which is another topic I'll be speaking on at some point. Truly listen to multiple perspectives and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. A lot of the times you'll hear somebody say, take that with a grain of salt though. Like, I'm not responsible for the outcome because I know that this is the way it worked out for me, but it might not work out for you that way. So maybe somebody is in a career that you want and they got there because they had a family member that already was in that career and they know a person who knows a person. That's how they got their way in, but they still followed this ladder. So they're telling you, you could still get in by following this ladder, but I did have an in because I knew somebody in the company. So this is what worked for me, but I'm not saying it's gonna work for you, but you could try it if you're willing to take that risk, you know? Take it with a grain of salt. Identify the source that you're learning from and apply what resonates and leave what does not. Like I said, I'm not saying don't take advice from people because we all learn from one another. And if somebody gives you poor advice, that's okay. Find the lesson within it and learn from it. It's teaching you something. Like, maybe don't take advice from somebody who's not in a place that you want to be in. Maybe you do take the advice from somebody, right? But apply it in a way that you know that it might not occur exactly in the same way that it occurred for them. And if you have the expectation that it is going to occur in the exact same way that it did for them, I'm sorry, but you're going to let yourself down. All of us are on our own paths. We're all learning different things. We're all being aligned to do our own thing on our own path and connect with multiple different people. And that's why we don't all connect with the same exact person. We all have different advice that we're given, and we all have all these different avenues and multiple different networks. No, nothing's going to turn out exactly how it turns out for somebody else. Even if it does align in the same string of events, they didn't all happen in the same exact way, you know? There's always that like few factors that were like, oh, but also this happened in the middle of this, and I got this job in between, and I worked here for this many years, and then I got the job. I don't know, this just makes more sense when I'm talking about careers. I'm trying to give you more examples, but they're not really coming to me right now. I'm saying don't take advice from people who aren't where you want to be, but also just identify the source that you're gaining your information from and applying. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a little bit shorter than my usual ones, but this was a shorter lesson and a quick one because I've taken poor advice before and I've learned something from it. Then I've taken advice from people who are actually where I want to be and I'm growing. So if you could do the same and if I could help at least one person doing that, amazing. I've done my duty here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope to see you guys in next week's podcast episode. Please leave a like, rating, review, comment, subscribe. If you feel the need to send me a message, interact with me, I'm here. Catch you guys next week.